Good morning. Good morning. I'm so excited. Oh my goodness. Good morning. I hope everyone is doing absolutely amazing. I've got my notes. I've got just the most incredible bit of knowledge that I'm going to give to you this morning by way of that Astro Moon Diary that I shared with you that I have. And we talked about it yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, I'll give you a link. It's amazing." And then we found out that this is actually, hi Eva, that this is actually out of stock for 2021, which just goes to show how amazing and incredible it is. But come the middle of the year, I always keep my eye out for it because I've had it for the past couple years and I love it. As soon as I see that it's out, I'll pop in this group and I'll make sure that you all are aware because it's just such a great journal, calendar, agenda, everything. So that all being said, good morning. Hi, Anna. Oh, I'm so glad to see you. Say hello as you pop on. It is Tuesday morning, January 26th, when we're recording this live. Hi, Amy. Oh, it's so good to see you all. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Ladies, your homework from yesterday floored me. Absolutely amazing. Hey, Lauren, good morning. I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed. And I wanted to share with you some themes that came up as I was reading through them last night and this morning. If I haven't responded to you, it's because you submitted your homework during the hours between, I don't know, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is when I stopped looking at them, and now. So originally I thought, hi, Lisa. Hi, Friva. Hi, Laura. Originally I thought I would pull the name on today's training, but I want to make sure that I got everybody, and my baby just went to sleep before this. So I will be pulling the prize winner of yesterday's homework assignment fun, and I will announce it in the group. And then I've got more homework for you today to do. So here's how we're going to do it. Every day, hi Maya, every day I'll be giving homework, and then the next day I will be giving a little prize for whoever, well, not for whoever, but I'm going to put everyone's name in a hat and pull one based on based on who did the homework. So now that we have that out of the way, I want to share some thoughts based on, I got to get my blankie. I'm like all over the place because I don't have my blankie over here. So good morning. How's everybody feeling? How is your intuition feeling? Has anybody had any intuitive nudges since we started doing this work? That happens often. Once you put energy to a thing, right? So where your energy flow, where your attention goes, energy flows. Now that we're talking about the intuition, I'm curious to see whatever intuitive nudges have popped up for you. Comment in the comment box if that feels, yeah, Eva, fire. Eva's got pure fire going on over there. And it's interesting that Thursday's full moon is in Leo, which is a fire sign, which is exactly what we're going to be talking about today. But comment in the chat box if you've noticed anything popping up in terms of your intuitive nudges. And I'm going to actually share with you a couple things that I picked up from yesterday's homework assignments based on what you all shared, some common themes. One of the common themes was that if you do something different, then you're wrong. And I'm going to tell you completely, openly, transparently, I've done a lot of work around that personally, because I have always, not always, because recently over the past couple of years, I've been very focused on this, but previous versions of Jillian truly felt down in her core, in my core, that if I was doing something differently than somebody else, they must automatically be doing it right and I must automatically be doing it wrong. Right? And so that's a really deep pattern that had to be looked at. But here's what, ladies, yesterday there was so much observing of how you felt about the seasons and what they've meant to you and how you have physically felt and physically shown up and what you've craved and not allowed yourself to have because of the shoulds of the world. But here's what. The only way you do it wrong is if you don't listen to you. That is the only way you can get this wrong. Other than that, you can't. You're always right. You are always right about your experience. Hey, Becca, you are always right when you are listening to your gut, when you are listening to your heart, when you are trusting yourself. And that's what we're cracking open this week. So that was the very first thing that I wanted to point out. Just because you do it differently doesn't mean you're wrong. Nor does it necessarily mean the other person's wrong, because if they feel they're right and they're doing it one way, hey Maria, good morning. Hey Cal, they're doing it right for them, and that's okay. We all get to have our own experiences here. Ladies, I have a hair. Have you ever had like that situation go on? It's like stuck in my lip gloss. Anyway, you know me, we're just gonna like keep it super real. I remember, how many of you were at the first True Live? I got on stage and like this really pretty dress, my hair was all done nice, and like I had gone on for like an hour. And I was like, you know that feeling when you have a hair? I'm on freaking stage in front of 100 women and I'm like picking at a hair that was like tickling the back of my arm. Like, cool. Hey Danielle, good morning. So so here's the right. Just because you do it differently does not mean you do it wrong. In fact, because you do it differently, but it's in alignment with you and your heart and your intuition, you're doing it right. And other people can have their own opinions. Other people can feel differently, think differently, do differently. That has nothing to do with you. You get to follow your heart. If it's the dog days of summer and you just want to lay in the pool or lay on a hammock and you've got a million things to do, but that feels good, go do that. Here's the point, ladies. Law of attraction is constantly giving to us what we are asking for, what we are experiencing. The point is to feel good. If you want to feel good, if you want to feel better, then you must feel good now. That's how it works. So when you're living in guilt or shame or worry, you're perpetuating the belief that that's what you want. And that's what you're calling back. Oh, thank you, Kelly. You're so kind. Thank you. I put on some lip color this morning. So ladies, what do you want? Right? Like that's the underlying question of this whole training. What do you want? Allowing yourself to want what you want feels good. Doing the things to support what you want feels good. And as you feel good, you attract more feel good to you. And that's the point. That's the point. Hello, Miss Heidi. Good morning. Good morning. The other thing I wanted to bring up based on the seasons and the homework is there has been in the past, a lot of you said there was a focus on bracing yourself for the worst of the season rather than celebrating the best of the season. So many of us have been wired to focus on the negative and focus on the bad and focus on what we don't want. But again, law of attraction doesn't discriminate. If you focus on what you don't want, law of attraction doesn't know negative from positive. If you're focusing on what you don't want, then you're focusing on what you don't want. So the law of attraction is like, okay, well, that's where the focus is. So we're just going to give more of that. If you're focusing on what feels good and what you do want, law of attraction is like, sweet, let's do more of that. So isn't it interesting that in the past, you've kind of been like bracing yourself for impact, right? Talk about winter. Winter was a big one. People bracing themselves and not looking forward to and lamenting and being afraid almost of the cold and just how frigid it is, rather than celebrating the fact that this is a season that I can just put on 3 layers, cozy under a blanket and sit by a fire and all is well, because that's actually what I'm meant to do. So I focusing on what you think is the worst rather than expecting the best. I was listening to an Abraham Hicks yesterday, and this quote stuck out to me. Expectation is when desire and belief are in the same place. So if you just expect to feel good, if you just expect, now it might go against everything that's been in the past because you've got a lot of evidence proving to you that it sucks. But what if you allowed yourself to reframe that and expect that you're going to feel good? Expect that you're going to support yourself. Because that's the point of knowing all of this. That's the point of awareness. It's so that in the future, we can better honor what works and proactively support ourselves so that which hasn't worked in the past will work going forward. So good. Let's see. Becca, yes, I noticed I spend too much time preparing for the hard parts and not just being, right? And preparing for the hard parts and expecting the hard parts as opposed to preparing for the hard parts, but or as opposed to expecting that there's going to be good stuff. Sometimes we look at a thing and we only expect it to suck, but we don't realize that like, oh, It could actually be really good. Maria, I have an opportunity to travel and do something fun, and my intuition is saying yes, even though I've been on a path to be safe and stay home. So toy with that. Play around with that, right? It's like what we talked about with that love acronym. Listen to your intuition. Observe what it would feel like if you chose this path or that path. Visit with both of them. What if you just tried it on a little bit and then experience, allow yourself to experience whatever it is, if you don't go with your intuition and if you do. And I mean, right now it's kind of like crazy because of the pandemic and everything, but is there a way that you could travel and do it really safely? So it's the and both. It's the win-win there. Hi, Hannah. Good morning. Hi, Brittany. I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop, so therefore I usually find that. Yeah, exactly. And what if we just said, okay, sure. With every season, there are some not great parts to it, but I'm going to focus on the great parts to it. I'm not going to focus on my face hurting when I go outside. I'm going to focus on wearing extra layers so that when I go outside, it's pretty comfortable and cozying up with warm beverages inside more often. Right? So it's where's your focus and where's your focus where was your focus in the past that doesn't feel so good? Because that is what your intuition is now trying to help you gauge. How can I move forward feeling good? How can I move forward feeling good? So, oh, hold on. That's my first sip of coffee for today. So, and I drink decaf. It's just the act of coffee for me. It's like the experience that I love so much. Let's dive into elements. We've done a good recap of yesterday and the seasons and the homework. I really want to dive into elements because this is going to be so extremely eye-opening for you. Are you ready? Who's excited? So first question is, do you know what your zodiac sign is? And if you do, just comment it in the chat. In my Moon Cycle Collective, we did this recently where we talked about the sun sign, the moon sign, and the ascension sign. And we've gone even deeper in the True 10 with really like embodying these signs and helping you to understand that you are a multifaceted being. So the reason I asked you about your sign, and we're going to get into it, and it's actually going to go into tomorrow, right? Is it tomorrow that we're talking about zodiacs? I think so. Gemini, Sagittarius, me too. Capricorn, Pisces. Hi, Jessica. Hi, Caitlin. Excellent. Virgo all the way, Maya. Taurus. So fun. Okay. Man, I don't remember. Don't worry. I've got a tool that I'm going to give you all. So really cool. Really cool. And we're going to, like I said, we're going to go deeper. Kelly Collins, Sagittarius. I love you all. I just happen to be a Sagittarius. So there's just something there. Capricorn, Virgo, Pisces. My son and my husband are Pisces. Actually, in my family, we each have, besides Michael, my husband, and Nathan, my baby, they have the same zodiac sign. They're both Pisces. So they have the same element, which is water, as their main element for the sun sign. But each of us have different elements. So we literally have the entirety of the elements living in our household. Like talk about magically balanced, but also like when one is feeling it, like the rest of us, I like kind of feel a little off. So it's really interesting. Hi, Raquel. Good morning. Hi, Connie. Okay, we're going to dive into the elements now. Good. I'm glad that you know this. It's just good. Good for you to know because it's going to help you to follow me a little bit more. So understanding the elements helps us in two ways. It helps us with our intuition. It helps us in two ways. It helps us sink deeper into the element that makes you up based on when you were born. So when we understand the elements, it helps you connect in with the element that you are most associated with so that you can really utilize the strengths of that element. It also helps us work with the energy that's available throughout the entirety of the year. So yesterday we talked briefly about how the moon transits through each of the zodiac signs throughout a cycle, a moon cycle. A moon cycle, remember, 28, 29-ish days. It transits throughout each of the zodiacs during one cycle. So it spends about 2.5, 3-ish days in each cycle. The cool thing about that, and the reason why it's so cool to tap into the cyclicality of the moon, is because throughout the course of the moon cycle, the moon is going through her phases, but she's also going through her phases within different zodiacs. So, for example, this Thursday, the moon is going to be full within the zodiac sign of Leo. Leo is a fire element. So this moon, full moon, typically is a great time for two things: celebration and release. We celebrate what works and we release what doesn't. Full moon, everything is illuminated. So, and we've talked about in here, we feel the intensity of the full moon a lot of the time. And so when the full moon is in a fire element, as opposed to, say, a water element, it feels different. So even though the full moon generally is representative of that celebration and release, when we understand the element that it's in, we can capture the energy utilizing that element to make our experience that much more meaningful, that much more aligned, and that helps us to uncover our intuition. Because again, when we're working with the feelings that feel good and that work, and we're proactively aware of that, then we literally, figuratively, energetically, spiritually, all the alleys in the world, we get to sync up with the energy and connect that in to our intuition, so that we're making choices that feel good based on our gut rather than just what's going on up here. It helps. It's a feeling that we get to generate. So I'm going to recap that because I just said a lot, but understanding the elements helps us in two ways. It helps you sink deeper into the element that makes you up based on when you were born. And it helps you work with the energy that is available throughout the year. So I talked about a moon cycle and 1 month of the year, but remember, knowing your sun sign, Heidi, I'm going to give you a tool. Oh, you need to find out what time you were born so you can figure out the moon, sun, and ascending. Yeah, it's super cool. Kel, you're the day after me. I'm the 19th. Cool. Magic there. Okay, so we talked about a moon in the cycle, but also remember, throughout the course of the year, it's essentially a month-ish, a little bit less than a month, that each sign is the leader of the year, right? So Sagittarius is end of November to almost end of December. That's the time where that's where the sun is, which is why that's our sun sign. I'm not going to get super deep into that today because we're going to do more of that tomorrow, but this is a really cool stage setter for tomorrow, understanding the elements. So, yeah, Caitlin, I'm going to give you a link. I'll get it for you right now. No, I want you to really pay attention to this right now. So hang on, let me do this and then I'll get the link in there. And that's right. Kelly, I remember actually seeing on Facebook and be like, oh my gosh, your birthday's right after mine. So cool. We're birthday twins. So I'm going to actually read directly from this book, the Astro Moon Journal that I was telling you about. Because this is going to help give some clarity. So the elements, the 4 elements, fire, earth, air, and water, characterize the fundamental substances of the universe. That's why this training is called Substances of the Universe instead of Elements, because they were all S's and C's in like the trainings, like syncing with the cycles, seasons, substances. I couldn't just like have an elements thing in there. So the 4 elements, fire, earth, air, and water, characterize the fundamental substances of the universe. Essentially, those 4 substances make up life. They make up life. And like we talked about yesterday, once energy is created, it can't be destroyed. And so because we are all born at the time that we're born, we have affiliations with different elements because of the zodiac sign. They express certain energies or principles of creation, which are reflected through every level of both inner and outer experience. Cool, right? Anybody else getting the tinglies? Like, oh, so good. So I'm going to tell you which signs are associated with which elements, and then we're going to go deeper into them, because what we're doing here is we're giving you a deeper understanding of you right now. We're helping you understand what makes you tick, what makes you feel most aligned. Because when you're in those spaces and you're utilizing your superpowers, you can hear your intuition more clearly. When you are utilizing your superpowers and then you get in that space of listening so that you can receive the messages from your intuition, you're able to live a life according to that, because any other way would feel awful. And I know that many of us have been programmed to feel awful, but that's not what this life is about. We are not meant to live a life feeling awful. We're not meant to live a life feeling depleted. We're not meant to live a life feeling like we should be missing out or guilty because we are meant to live a life in alignment with what we want to do. And this understanding the elements is going to give you some more tools for your toolbox to know. And so you can utilize where you feel most powerful, and you can know what to bring in to support you when you're not feeling powerful. Yes? Yes. So there are 12 zodiac signs. There are 4 elements. So each of the element has 3 zodiacs associated with it. We're going to start with fire. Fire is associated with Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. I'm imagining some of you are taking notes, so I'm going to take a second. Earth, the earth element, is associated with Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. Does just hearing this, like, I mean, we're only halfway there, but like, is it starting to ring bells? Like, oh, okay. Air is the element with Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. This is so fun. We're getting into the magic now. And water is associated with Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. How many of you knew this? How many of you knew your element before, your sun element? Because we're going to get into another layer after this part of the training. Oh goodness, yes, Maya. Maya is part of my True Ten Ladies, and she is based in Israel, which is freaking awesome. It just goes to show you, like, when you feel connected to the depth of sisterhood that we have in that space, like, you come from literally all corners of the earth. Yes, yes, good. I'm all fire. Kelly, are you all fire? I'm 2 out of the 3. I did, but I forget it. Okay, cool. Let me get through this part, and then I'm going to give you the link. That's going to be helpful, because I know you're chomping at the bit. Yep. Okay. I'm going to read to you about each of the elements. And I don't copy me word for word. Remember that this is recorded, so you can go back to it, but just copy down the things that stand out to you the most. And I recommend copying little bits about each of them, because we're going to reveal to you that you are more than just your sun sign in a second. And that's going to help with both today's training and tomorrow's training. So fires of the world. We are ardent, which means we are enthusiastic and passionate. That's like our underlying feeling. That is our underlying, like, oomph there. That's what we're kind of defined as. The nature of fire is to vitalize. It is the spark of life, the eagerness of desire, the warmth of the heart, and the enthusiasm of the adventurer are all fueled by this element. Sagittarius is love, adventure. The drive to be, to create, to take the leap into the unknown all result from its expansionary, activating quality. So a lot of expansion, a lot of passion, a lot of excitement, a lot of go. Fire signs radiate. On a good day, their warmth can delight, inspire, and encourage. But in the wrong place at the wrong time, their energy can be reckless, insensitive, and inflammatory. So I think it's super important to note here how we're talking about my mom is in Aries, and you could be too. Yeah, so cool. So it's important to note the the superpowers that come with each element, but also the destructive capabilities of them, because there are destructive capabilities, just like there's light and dark, just like there's a full moon and a new moon, just like there's day and night, just like within us, we have our divine side and our shadow side. There's always going to be the other end. It's polarity. Life is made up of polarity, north and south. So the very thing that can be our greatest attribute can also be our greatest destroyer if we don't utilize it properly, if we don't take care of ourselves. Let's get into Earth. The defining characteristic of Earth is practicality. The nature of Earth is solid. It is the matter through, upon, and around which other elements act. Earth is like that foundational piece. We can build upon the earth elements. Through Earth, the unreal takes form. Through it, life is lived. It's kind of like that notion that everything that you see was once a thought. And we need that earth energy to be the foundation upon which to build it. Earth signs are practical. They understand how the world works and can handle it. Though they can be relied upon to produce, organize, stabilize, and provide an environment within which life can continue to flourish efficiently and healthfully, they can be impervious to more abstract and inspirational dimensions of being. So while an earth is super stable and super strong, and we want to build upon it, a lack of imagination, a lack of inspiration can lead to its demise. Cool, Amy. That's cool. Us too. Okay, air. Air's quality is connectivity. So we've got fire is ardent, which is enthusiastic and passionate. Earth is practicality. Air is connectivity. The nature of air is to form bonds of connectivity. It is weightless. It blows to and fro. Our breathing is a continual exchange between inner and outer. Remember how we talked about this? Can you breathe out only? No, there must be that breathing in. We must complete that energy exchange. Creatures of the air spread their cross-fertilizing pollen from plant to plant. It is via air that pieces of information, whether they be through words, ideas, places, or people, are collected, linked, and formed into relationships, patterns, communities, and theories. Air signs are intellectual and communicative. They talk, travel, and think, but can become preoccupied with schemes and abstractions. So the air is the bearer of the knowledge. It's the bringer of the knowledge. It's that connective piece. But there comes a time where we've got to get out of that flighty, swirly transmission stage and into the application stage. We could toss around ideas all day long, but at some point, we've got to start to take action on them. All right, finally, water. Water's main attribution is feeling, deep feelers. The nature of water is fluid and rhythmic. It embraces, dissolves, and reflects. It is sensitive and responsive to subtle currents, whilst if channeled and directed, it can be overwhelmingly powerful. It is both the womb from which life emerges and the active current of growth itself. It is via water that nutrients are carried and emotion is experienced. Water signs feel. They have compassion and empathy, intuition, and visualizing skills, but can get swept away from a firm shore by the waves of feeling. So good. So, understanding your sun element helps you to connect in and support yourself more. If you are a water sign, a deep feeler who can like really get in there and she can float away, understanding that you can't live in the regimented box that society puts you in is a really powerful release. It's almost like knowing yourself deeper because of your elements gives you the opportunity to detach from the things that you knew didn't serve you, but now you've got more. It's like what we talked about, putting that knowledge to the wisdom. We get it now. The things that you've been feeling are actually legit. They're actually legit. And what's really interesting is you are made up of more than just your sun sign. Your sun sign was based on when you were, like the day that you were born, because you fell into that zodiac time where the sun was in that zodiac, and the sun spends more time in the zodiac than the moon does. But at the time that you were born, the sun was in a certain place, the moon was in a certain place, and you came into this world at a specific time that represents the rising of you. So I'm going to share a link with you now, because this is the moment you've been waiting for. This is just going to really help. Although I don't want to give you mine. I was doing my whole families yesterday, and here's the cool thing too. Doing your entire families is going to be really interesting because you're going to get to see how you ebb and flow together as a family. Let's see if this works. Okay, it works. So I'm going to put it right here because I knew what serves me and the description is spot on. But if it isn't the sign I was born into. Oh, is it possible to not connect to your sign at all and so deeply with one that isn't mine? Yeah. Hang tight there, Buttercup. Good question. So I just put a link in there to help you calculate your moon sign and your rising sign. This is so powerful because this is going to give you more information to the depth of you. Some people do not resonate with their sun sign at all. But when they learn of their moon sign or their rising sign, they're like, oh my gosh, that explains so much. So let me, I want to make sure that I'm saying this correctly for you all. And then we're going to loop back to the elements. But do you feel how cool this is? It's just unbelievable. So our sun sign is where we find our motivation and passions for life. Our sun sign is like, think about it with daytime. Like, all right, sun's up, time to go. Sun sign is that motivation and that passion for life. The moon sign can indicate your emotional self, your habits, and your past. So when you're feeling like deeper into you and when you're looking back and reflecting upon things, your moon sign is a great indicator of the energy that's encompassed there. And then your rising sign, which is also known as your ascendant sign, your rising sign is how you show your identity and how others see you. So I'm going to use myself as an example. My sun sign is Sagittarius. Like, I'm straight fire. Like, get up, let's go. Like, it's time to go. I'm like the epitome of like that spark of life and the eager and the enthusiastic. Like, I got all that down pat. I know that. I really resonate with that sign. The moon sign, I'm in Aries, which is also a fire sign. So I know that I've got that supportive fire under my emotional self as well. But my rising sign, which is like, it's the identity, it's the piece that like I really connect with the world on deeper, is Cancer, which is a water sign. It's deeply emotional. So that's when you see me like coming out, like you see or you see parts of me. You see the part, like the go-getter, the entrepreneur, the mother, that like, we're going to get this done, the athlete. Like, that's my fire. But when I'm coaching, like, you feel me. I am like pure water. Like, we go to the depth in here. And so I really lean on those two signs to support me through life. But here's what I'm going to say this, and I want it to be super, super clear. Understanding your sign doesn't just help you tap into the power of the sign. It helps you recognize what other elements you must bring in to bring harmony to your sign. So for me, if I get, say someone sends me a message and it makes me really uncomfortable. My fire wants to deal with it and get it done. But because sometimes the nature of the conversation needs a little bit more tenderness, if I just like hopped right into it and like solved it to get it out of the way, I'd essentially burn down that relationship. I'd burn down whatever was there because I don't want to deal with it. Fire, like, we got to go, we got to move. I don't want to touch it. So I've learned that if I get an uncomfortable question or message to me, I need to give it a beat. I need to wait a second because initially my fire sign's going to want to come. Then the moon fire sign's going to want to come. But then that deeper piece of me that wants to connect more with people, because I love that, it's my favorite thing in the world, I let the water take over. I let the water essentially cool off. I let the water kind of put out the fire, and we work with those elements instead. Right. And so throughout, I want to make sure that I'm getting this for you guys. Caitlin, you put in where you're born in this. So in this calculator, and I have no idea, we just found this in the Moon Cycle Collective, and I really like it. I don't know who this is. I'm not affiliated with this person who does this space at all. I just think it's a really well done website with really good descriptions there. But in order to calculate your moon sign and your rising sign, because it's based on a point of time, you need to know where you were born and the time of birth. Now, I'll tell you, my baby came out, he was born at 8:04 p.m. I kind of think he was born at 8:02, just like deep within me. I kind of think that. So I did it. I said like, okay, if he was born at 8:04, this is what it would be. And then 8:02, this is what it would be. It came out to being the same thing. Now, my husband, he doesn't know at all what time he was born. And I did it for him based on a morning time. I know his place of birth and I know his date of birth. I did a morning time and an evening time, and he did get a different rising sign because based on where he was and where the world was and the moon and the sun and all of that, it was in a different zodiac between the morning and the evening. So we don't have the complete picture for him, but enough that like I'm like, yeah, I think you're this and not that. So let's get back to, I know you guys are going to be really interested in that, but I want to get back to talking about the elements, because remember, we're talking about zodiacs very deeply tomorrow, and it's such a good segue. It's kind of like I planned this or something, but no, I curated the flow of this week so that we could build upon each lesson to help you uncover your intuition even more strongly and even with even more conviction. So, understanding, remember that the wheel of the year, hold on. Remember that the year is a wheel. Remember we talked about this yesterday, the wheel of the year. It's constantly moving. We've got seasons that make it up, and now we're talking about zodiacs that make it up. And because we're talking about zodiacs, we're talking about elements that make it up. The year is a wheel, and we feel different ways at different times of the year. It could be seasonal things that are going on, but it actually also could be zodiac things that are going on, elemental things that are going on. If you're a fire, chances are you're feeling this full moon that's coming up in Leo, whether you're a Leo or not, really deeply. Like you're just feeling like that, like, oh, it's time to go. It's because the elements really speak to each other. The elements really speak to each other. So remember, the year is a wheel, and we feel different ways throughout the year. Intuition is based on feeling. Honoring, proactively supporting how we feel helps us hear our intuition. So when we know all these things, we get to honor what works and proactively support where we haven't supported ourselves before in the past. Knowing the foundation of the elements helps you to know what works for you. And it also helps you to recognize, like, typically I try to burn through things right here, but what if I added a little bit more water to the situation? What if I added a little bit more air? And each of the elements has balancing power. So obviously, fire can be extinguished with water. The earth can be moved around by the air. They all get to work together. If we add too much air to the fire, it gets too big. But if the fire is just like a little tiny speck and you want it to be bigger, you've got to breathe air into it. So breathing, I can't think of a better word, but breathing more air into the fire is super, super helpful. and understanding that the earth is the house of all of the elements. So we get to understand who we are, what makes us tick. We get to understand superpowers that we've maybe tried to subdue in the past, and we get to understand how to counterbalance those superpowers utilizing the other elements. When we work with the energy available, we feel good. And when we feel good, what we want is clear. This gives us the opportunity to hear our intuition more clearly. I'm going to say that again. When we work with the energy available, we feel good. Because think about it. If you are an air sign and you're like, you just want to like get all these thoughts and you want to connect, and you want to really allow what's within you to be released, but you're constantly feeling like you are like dousing yourself with water and you're like not letting yourself flow, but you're like being like tucked down into the depth of the ocean. That's not serving you. That's resistance. When we understand who we truly are and what makes us up, then we get to see where we have put resistance on our path before that we don't have to do anymore. Anytime you have tried to deny yourself and your intuition, you have tried to throw resistance onto your path. When we feel bad, it's literally because we are not allowing ourselves to flow with what works for us. When we feel bad, when we feel guilty, when we feel overwhelmed, it's because we're trying to resist our superpowers. And we're not supporting ourselves when we need that deeper level of support. Julie, yay! Excellent. Nice to see you, my love. So what's coming up, ladies? Who's got questions? Who's got questions? I'll give you a second because I know it takes me a second to actually see what you've typed. I'm gonna say this because this is coming through. There are 4 elements that make up all of life. They all serve us. Some of us serve us during different times than others. Some of us serve us until they don't serve us in that moment anymore, and we get to bring in other elements to make up the balance of what we've been missing. I'm a water sign and I cannot flow. Girl, let's rephrase that right now. You know me. I love you. I'm a water sign, and in the past, I haven't been able to flow, but now I'm working on it. That feels a lot better, right? Because we talked about this at the beginning of this training, Julie, but when we focus on what doesn't work, when we focus on bracing ourselves for impact, when we focus on what's not there, when we focus on what we cannot do, then it will continue to be. But if we shift that focus to, sure, okay, that's been me of the past. I'm focusing on flowing now. It was hard for me to flow before, but now I know I can because I'm going to work with my elemental magic. I just bought a book online just now to dive deeper. Sweet, Victoria. Give us the link to the book. I'm just processing it all. Yes, totally. You're the goddess of the reframe. Thank you. Reframing is actually one of my superpowers. I appreciate that, Eva. So, understanding these elements. Remember back to the LOVE acronym. How do we start? How do we tap into our intuition? How do we learn to trust our intuition? Love. Love. And understanding different bits and pieces of us give us the opportunity to love ourselves even deeper. And they give us the opportunity to look at what we once thought was a weakness as a new means of loving ourselves. You are not made up of weaknesses, only strength. And in those areas that you don't feel so strong, now you know there are supportive elements, there's supportive energy to help you get back into that aligned state of being you. being truly you. Thanks, Victoria. The only astrology book you'll ever need. That's an awesome title. Well done. I'm fire and I've been burning too hot right now and burning down my relationships lately. Yes. And that listening, that observing, that's the observing step. Okay. I'm straight fire and I'm proud of it, but like, look at I've been using it to my detriment. I've been using it to my detriment right now. How can I bring a little bit more of that water element in? How can I, instead of pouring fuel onto the fire, how can I allow myself to just be breezy and float a little bit? Kelly, you too. My fires are feeling it right now. And also remember, the full moon in Leo right now is a fire, so you're going to be feeling it. So instead of focusing on what you are not proud of with the fire element, let's focus on how you can rekindle those flames for good. Right? So I want to make sure that to drive this home too. Every moon cycle, we go through each of the zodiacs, which means we experience all 4 of these elements 3 times throughout the course of a month. Think about that. It is no wonder why we cannot be expected any longer to get up, do the thing, go to work, get it done, be super mom, not have any feelings, just go, and then fall into bed and then do the same thing tomorrow. We literally feel each of these elements, and every few days it shifts and changes on us. So when you understand who you are, when you understand what makes you up, you can understand how to best support yourself even through a month by saying, okay, I know that I am, and I'm a water sign right now, and I'm coming up on some really earth energy. Earth energy is really stable and it's really solid, and I'm more of that flowy feely. How can I bring some of that flow into the earth? How can I bring more practical into my life so that I can participate with this energy a little bit more? And this will help you throughout the course of the year too. Some of you mentioned, I know Maria mentioned, there are a couple months that are really hard for you throughout the course of the year. Which also interesting. Why aren't we talking about the couple months that are really powerful for you throughout the course of the year? Right? When you understand this, then you can go into the month differently, because it may not be the month, it may be the zodiac sign. That your elements just feel like they're clashing. So we've got to do some work with how to bring harmony between them. The elements make up who we are, and we have a few of them to work with. Instead of focusing on the areas that we're not proud of, why don't we focus and play to our strengths? Because again, when we're playing to our strengths, we feel good. When we feel good, things feel clear. When things feel clear, we hear our intuition with such a deeper level of knowing. And perhaps we start scheduling life around the elements so that you know what to do. I know that July to August, I'm on freaking fire. It's Leo season. I'm a Sagittarius and an Aries. Leo's the only one that I don't have. But during that time of the year, everything is awesome. Everything is awesome. And so I now know that I get to bring different experiences to my family during that time. We can go out and we can light it up and have a blast because my energy is holding the space for that. I also know that within my business, I want to really invite people to join me during that time because I'm on freaking fire and it's magnetic. Right? I know that for my physical body, I want to move. I want to go. Like, I want to fuel this thing with food that's going to make me feel amazing so that I can like just create during this time. I know that because I know my elements and I know how I feel during that time. And so instead of saying, well, it's August, nobody's going to pay attention, which is what many entrepreneurs will tell you. I'm like, no, hell no. I'm going to play to my strengths because that's a powerful time for me. And if it's a powerful time for you, other people are magnetized to you. And if it's not feeling like a powerful time for you, then you now have other tools to support you through that time. I know plenty of times of the year where I'm feeling real sticky. And so now I know, oh, okay, this makes sense. This makes sense. This is a super watery time of the year and I want to burn it all down. No, I'm sorry. This is a super earth time of the year and I want to burn it all down. I get it. I get it. So, ladies, to conclude today's training, thank you for being here. I'm so glad. And I'm so glad that like we get to, I wish I could like someday we'll be able to be in a space all together again, holding hands, and we can have like actual discussion about that. We'll have to have like day-long trainings for it. But here's what. You're magical. You are meant to know this depth of you because the next step after this is sharing this depth with you with others, with your family, with sisterhood, with women that get it. Right? We talk about in my True You tent all the time about how, you know, we can't just walk into a coffee shop and expect that other people are going to want to be doing and are doing this depth of self-knowing and self-uncovery to bring more light and love in the world. We've got to choose those places and spaces. And when we can show up fully embodied and willing to work on the bits and pieces that aren't working in sisterhood, everything changes for us. Life change because we're finally allowing in what it is we've been craving the very most and what the freaking patriarchy has told us that we don't need. And it's not true. So today for your, oh, Kelly, I may be taking you up on that, sister. I've got my wheels turning about, for those of you that don't know, True You Live is my live event that I did for 2 years in a row, and it was meant to be an annual event. But of course, last year it was not able to be held. So this year I'm itching to get some creative things on the docket. So that's wonderful. Thank you, love. Your homework for today is to, if you can, if you know all the information to calculate your signs, I'm going to make that thread. I know that you put it here, but I want to put it in a thread. First, thanks, Becca, to help solidify it for you. But I would love for you to find out what your 3 signs are and then write out what your superpowers are that now you know. Now you can kind of validate based on those signs. Superpowers. Okay? I want to focus on those because that's also going to show us where to support yourself on the other side of it. But I really want to focus on what's working, especially because yesterday with talking about the seasons, a lot that came up was like the focus on like what doesn't work, what doesn't feel good. I want today's homework to really amplify what does feel good. So again, I'm going to post it in the group. And for those of you that are emailing me, because I received a few of those because you watch the videos off of Facebook, awesome. Keep doing that. I want you to share all 3 signs. If you can't figure out all 3, just do your number 1. And based on what we talked about today, that deeper level understanding of your element and your personal superpowers. So like I shared, I am a sun sign. I am radiant. I'm going to go. I'm going to bring the life. I'm just going to I'm super enthusiastic and passionate. And my water signs, my superpower is there is like, I am such a deep feeler. And I can hold incredible space for my family and my coaching clients because I can feel, I can go to the depth with them and I can hold that space for them. And I allow myself to feel. I allow myself to feel. In the past, I didn't allow myself to feel, but now I know one of my superpowers is feeling. So homework. Whatever signs you can find out for you and the element associated with them. I should have said that. And the element associated with them. And then your superpowers that you are ready to embody now knowing your elements, your main elements. Okay? Oh, all right, ladies, this has been so lovely. Thank you for being here. We are just under an hour, which is excellent. And I'm just so appreciative. So if you hopped on late, awesome. Go back and watch the beginning. It will add a lot more context to what we're talking about here. And if you are watching this replay, thank you. Thank you for watching it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Email me, comment in the Facebook group. Final note, go read your soul sisters comments on the homework threads. They are so absolutely amazing. Like the magic that's in this space, ladies, cannot be matched. It's absolutely incredible. And as you're going through this experience for yourself, go and read what other women are going through. It helps us feel more connected, helps us know that we're not alone. And it really shows the depth of sisterhood that is developing here. And it's just so powerful. I'm so proud of you all. Happy Tuesday. I'm going to go do what I have to do in the background to get you the replay and to get the post up and all the things. And I will be drawing the first prize for yesterday's homework. Okay. Love you, love you, love you. Thank you for being here. You're absolutely freaking amazing. And we will talk tomorrow.